we go. Let's go to John first. He says, Stanley Cup playoffs time. Hoping the president's trophy curse afflicts the Rangers. Let's go, Caps.
Rangers, Boston Bruins, Dallas Stars. Pretty good group of teams stateside. Oh, Canada. Vancouver, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Toronto Maple Leafs. This is going to be spectacular NHL playoffs because we got 4 firepower teams north of the border. You got at least 4 here. Might be some upsets along the way. Bring on the Stanley Cup playoffs. Toughest trophy to win because all those series, there's no gimmicks or gadgets or one-game play-ins or best of 3 crapola. Best of 7, pal. I'll see you and see who's standing by the time we get to the end of June because that's how long these playoffs go.
Wow. This is a great time of year, isn't it? It's fantastic. Oh, by the way, I looked up and we were wondering why the Rangers were the Rangers in New York. I guess the owner of the team then also owned the Madison Square Garden, and his nickname was Tex because he was from Texas. So they called it Texas Rangers. And that's how the name came to the team in New York City.
Thank God for the internet, and John Riley's got all the spare time in his hands. Exactly. Next question. Thanks, John.
All right, let's go to Graham. He says, hey, the umpire in the booth was a real snoozer.
I thought it was fun, but you can't do that on a game-in, game-out basis. But I'll give credit to MLB, which now operates the Padre TV thing. They need to create more creative content. You know, whether it's just servicing me, the fanatic, about the out-of-town scoreboard, you got people there that could do the insertions in the 3rd inning, the 6th inning, maybe in the 8th inning. You've got all those openings with the advertisers. Instead of running Padre promo, do some insertions. You got a great broadcaster in Bob Scanlon who tells really good stories. Use him more. I feel bad for Mike Pomerantz because they started to do something where they bring him in for a little round table in the 3rd inning, and it just seemed forced. It didn't seem natural at all. Maybe instead of having him in the booth, let him be down on the field, and in the 3rd inning, do Q&A back and forth between Donnie O and Mudd and Pomerantz on some hot topics on the table. Because when they've done it with him in the booth, it just sounds like it's staged, and it shouldn't be that way. So if I were king, I'd add some more creative content there. The umpire in the booth thing was kind of cool. I think it maybe not for 9 innings, but maybe for 3 innings. I think bring a retired general manager and just let him sit in a chair and talk stories about how this works. How do you make that trade, et cetera, et cetera. Not that you're making reference to what AJ did. I just think there needs to be in the Padre broadcast more creative content. Attention, Eric Grupner. My memo will be in your email box tonight. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, well, they sometimes they'll bring in, if not Grupner, it'll be AJ Preller or the team president. Granted, it's a PR thing where they're trying to sell their tchotchkes for the promos, for the beanie hats and everything else. But it's nice to have an executive there and provide a different opinion. And they've had other people come in, but there is that classic 2-man booth thing that a lot of people don't want to see that disrupted. Mm-hmm. They want, because baseball has so many traditionalists.
They want Donnie O and Joliet Jake.
Yeah.
That's what they want. Or CeeLo and Mark Grant. I understand that. I'd like to see more content added to what those guys bring.
Yeah, I just wish they didn't cancel the pre and post game show. And I think it'd be good if you had Pomerantz out in the stands too, talking to fans. There's a lot of other things that can be done for sure.
Next question.
Moving on. All right, here's from Winnipeg Sports Talk. Hey, what's up, Hacksaw?
I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well. You're unbearable. You guys can't wait for the bleeping playoffs. 50 wins. I'll tell you what, that's impressive considering what Winnipeg's gone through. They've shredded a lot of guys on their roster. Tyler Toffoli's become a really quality player up in Winnipeg. Now the guys that Chevalier, the general manager, has brought in, that's a pretty good hockey team. I think they play Vancouver tonight. It's their final regular season game and then on to the postseason. But it's been a year of surprises in Canada. We always expected the Maple Leafs and the Oilers. I'm not so sure we expected Winnipeg to win 50. And I surely did not expect Vancouver, and they made a lot of changes to be the best in the West in terms of points. When you add the Canadian teams to the NHL playoffs, it's really special. I wish Hockey Fan, you included, could have access to the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast and compare it to the style that we get here. And what we see here stateside with TBS, et cetera, it's pretty cool. But Hockey Night in Canada is just a different venue.
Yeah, I've never sampled that. That sounds like it'd be a real fun thing to do because it's a proven formula.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of people are asking questions here about Hockey League. I mean, here's one from Callan. He says, Hacksaw, who you got winning Lord Stanley this season?
It's wide open. You got so many really good teams. I mean, Toronto's got the firepower of the 69 goals from Austin Matthews, and they got Mitch Marner. Winnipeg's got firepower. Vancouver just wears you out. The key in Vancouver, can they get good, solid goaltending now that Thatcher Demko, the San Diego native, Scripps Ranch, is back in goal? That becomes a big question. Dallas has got hired guns. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, you look at some of these other teams that are really dangerous. The Rangers, I don't think the Rangers are getting anywhere near enough coast-to-coast recognition. They got a lot of guys who can score. That's a pretty good hockey team. And Boston's Boston, and they've got good talent too. To me, it's wide open. My heart tells me Toronto has enough to win it, but they have to do it. They haven't won the Stanley Cup since 1967. Vancouver's so rugged. I just don't know if they can survive all these best-of-7 series because I think they wear themselves out. No game for them is easy. They just bang on you. But I would say those are my two going forward, but anybody could win this thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching. I mean, granted, I didn't grow up as a hockey fan here, been a native Californian, but the more I watch, the more I like. And, I still want to see how this whole thing plays out because I know it's spectacular every spring.
Hacksaw mini poll. Molson's Canadian or Labatt's? Which beer do you like?
Oh, geez, those are the only two choices up there? The Molson's not bad. Yeah, there you go.
I'll bring the Molsons. You bring the sub sandwiches.
Okay.
Next question.
Moving on. All right, let's go to Angel. And he says, hey, shame that Zion not going to play this past season was his coming out party.
Well, it's too bad. I mean, he has played the second half of the season like a dominant guy, and he's not big. I mean, he's 6'9", maybe, but he's explosive. He's a long strider. He's got a wide variety of moves going to the net. He made some shots. He said, how did he get that shot off as he blew by guys? But you know what? He's still an in-and-out performer. For that 40-point game, as great as it was to see Williamson do that, we had the game before where he had 7, and he played like he didn't care. He played like he got bullied by LeBron. It was just really weird. But with him and Brandon Ingram and their guards, they got guards that come off the bench that just wear you out because they lean on you and they hit 3-point shots and they run the floor and they take the ball away. That's a pretty well-constructed team. But now it's too bad that he tweaks his, I thought it was his groin. They said he's got a minor hamstring injury, but he's not going to play in the last of the play-in games that they got to play against Sacramento. And that's too bad because I don't think they can win without him. But he's vibrant, and he finally grew up from about December on where I thought this guy's going to be a bomb. This guy's a bust. It's 2.5 years of everybody expecting potential. It never showed. And then all of a sudden it showed, and he showed us how really good he could be. So hopefully he's grown up on the job.
Yeah, grown up on the job. I mean, that was another thing I was noticing when I was watching the Laker game, against the Raptors. And sometimes I lose sight of it because to me, it's basketball. It's fun. It's exciting. And I watch the college and I watch the pros. But pro basketball is a much more mature version of the game. And yeah, these players, they are pros. And you can tell by the way they conduct their business on the court. It seems like Zion still has that college mentality.
Yeah, it came easy for him there. Unless he puts the nose to the grindstone, he's not going to have a great career. And he's already had a siege of injuries. He's had multiple foot problems, and now he's finally gotten beyond that. And then he got killed in the November NBA Cup games by the Lakers. And maybe the light bulb's going on in terms of conditioning, responsibility, game planning, and all those things. He's surely different now than he was for 2.5 years. But then again, we have these crap outings when they needed it the most. He didn't show till he got 40, and then he got hurt.
What a miserable existence. Yeah. All right, let's go on. Let's go to Gary. He says, hey, most amazing game by Michael King. He showed so much poise after that base hit. I would have been stomping up and down, really felt for him. He done good. And the real story with your eye is that you finally met a Raider fan in the parking lot, and I'd hate to see what the Raider fan looks like. Feel better soon.
I ran into a doorknob. No, that's not true. I had eye surgery yesterday. I want a medal that I am playing hurt. I want that notation. And John and I have laughed and joked because we came in here during the COVID time and we had a COVID outbreak in our studio. we wore masks and we debated, how do we do this? Should we do this? Are we exposing ourselves? And we came in and we did the show wearing COVID masks for I think it was 2 straight weeks. So we've been dedicated, but hey, you got to play hurt sometimes. And yeah, my name's on the injured list, but dude is here doing his thing for you people back there. And I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah. I mean, you've been through hell, and
I also got a back problem too. And I've been going through therapy. Nobody knows that I have a major back issue too, but we have not missed a show.
No, yeah, you play hurt. I mean, for sure, you won't go on the injury list. You're like Manny Machado. Okay, hey, let's go here to.
I do want to say about Michael King.
Oh yeah, sure.
There's bulldog in that guy, and the same with Dylan Cease. And King walks a lot of guys. He does throw a lot of pitches, but you saw the best of Michael King. He was zeroed in against Milwaukee in terms of ball movement, location. He was spectacular. Now, this is the same guy that walked 7 guys in a game early in the season. The same guy gave up 4 home runs the week prior, but there's dog in him, and there's dog in Dylan Cease, and there's dog in Joe Musgrove if we can get him back. This rotation looks pretty good to me if they can keep them all healthy.
Remember we used to talk about how the Padres need to play with a winning edge. Yeah. And that's when we got Tommy Pham. We were all excited that he was going to give it. These guys are doing it.
The pitchers are.
Yeah. And then even guys like Jackson Merrill are doing it. So I love that vibe. I think that's terrific. But yeah, Michael King, that changeup, man, it was landing in the bottom right corner, for left-handed hitters down and away, hitting strikes. I mean, it was fantastic.
Young guy threw 109. That's a little too much for me as a starting pitcher, but I mean, he was dominant. He was really rolling. It's too bad he lost the no-hitter, but it's too bad they lost the game. That's the bigger issue. But if they can keep him healthy, he and Cease, boy, in a 4-game series, you're going to face some real heat.
And that's your number 4 starter. Hey, that's not bad. Okay, let's move on here. And let's go here to Chris. He says, I've got my hot dog and my Labatt's blue, and I want to talk playoff puck with you. Can the Kings make a run this year with the electric kids on the blue line and the journeyman netminders? React to me, damn it.
Oh, Canada. The Kings have all this firepower. You never know from game to game who's going to show up. I think you can trust Kempe. There's no doubt. You trust Kopitar, proven commodities. You just don't know what you're going to get from Fiala. You just never know when Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to show up and score goals. That brings a big issue. I will tell you that Drew Doughty just plays monster number of minutes, and I do think they're young defensemen. Mikey Anderson, those guys, they're pretty good. I think goaltending is a little suspect. Maybe that's got to be addressed in the offseason. I know they've got massive salary cap issues there in LA because they're paying the forwards an enormous amount of money. I don't know how deep they're going to go, but on paper, I look at them and said, man, they should score a lot of goals, but they don't do it on a consistent basis. And I hate to think that they might be one and done because Rob Blake has worked really hard to put a pretty competitive team. The Byfield kid, the high number 1 pick, the kid that came here as an 18-year-old and was overwhelmed. He had a good first 2/3 of the season. He's kind of tailed off. He's not scoring goals right now. So I think you need to keep that in mind that maybe he's kind of hit the proverbial wall because he takes a lot of faceoffs. He does take a lot of shifts.
I appreciate Chris in this post because he's talking the hacksaw smack talk right here. He's got the shtick going. You must get that a lot when you run into people on the street.
People yell at me all that. So 30 seconds private conversation. Okay. So I had eye surgery yesterday, and I'm waiting to undergo this procedure on my left eye. I had 3 different doctors who knew I was in the building, came by to say hi. And here I am with IVs in, getting ready to be rolled into the surgical procedure. And these doctors are talking to me about the Padres or the NFL draft. It was really funny. And those guys at the new hospital in Escondido are just gems. What a great facility that is. So I had a lot of fun before they put me on to do this eye procedure. So yeah, I do get a lot of smack talk and people yell at me all the time. Touchdown San Diego, or show me your lightning bolt, or hey, Raider fan out of jail on bail, call now.
I want to talk sports with you.
Damn it.
All right. 4RXLA says the Dodgers are looking like the Padres of last season. They sure could use Trevor Bauer right now. Look for Roberts to get fired before the All-Star game if the Dodgers are not in first place.
Well, they're not playing real well right now. John and I were talking about this in the middle of the week. The bottom third, actually, the bottom four guys in the Dodger lineup are hitting 194. That's pretty poor. The bullpen, the collective group, has an ERA of 4.94 right now. Now, they're about to get Walker Buehler back, but they just lost Bobby Miller, who's got shoulder inflammation because his arm was not responding between starts. So they're a little bit dinged up right now, but there's a hell of a lot of baseball to be played. And I'll tell you, the top five guys in the batting order are crushing the baseball. You look at the stats. Mookie Betts was 5 for 5 the other night. I think he's hitting 363. Showtime, he's hitting like 334. Freeman has cooled a little bit. Muncy is hitting. Will Smith is dangerous. So if they don't have any catastrophic injuries to their starters, they're going to be okay because they're going to get some guys back here pretty quickly. Buehler he's about to return maybe within the next 10 days.
Buehler is a hell of a pitcher.
Oh,
yeah. And the way he throws and just his mechanics are just incredible. That late life on the fastball from Buehler, it must be the spin rate. Dave Roberts, there's always been people, calling for him to get his head cut
forever.
Off. Yeah. But he seems like he's well liked and respected by the Dodgers organization.
They just need some players to step up. I mean, I'm just kind of shocked at how poor some of their guys at the bottom of the batting order are producing right now, from Kiki Hernandez down to some of the other guys but they've hit before. I think they're going to hit back. They're going to get Jason Hayward back as a left-handed DH and left-handed pinch hitter or a rotation guy in the outfield. And I think Outman is going to start hitting again because he had a good year. I don't know what's gone down with Gavin Lux because he had a tremendous spring hitting prior to getting hurt a year ago. His bat is what got him to the majors. Last I checked, I think he was hitting 193. So there's some guys that have to produce yet, but we got time.
Well, I think Jason Hayward says he's good defensively. I don't think he's much of an offensive threat, though, is he?
He can hit. He has hit in the past. He's got some pop. If he hits 250 and gives me 15 to 20 home runs and he plays strong in the outfield, he always does. Yeah, he's a rotation guy. We're not living and dying by him.
Yeah, well, I'll take that. Okay, let's move on here to Matt. And he says, who is your favorite CFL team? There's only one correct answer.
Oh, geez, that could be hard. That thing changes every year. I've never seen a league where the top players change teams all the time. Top quarterbacks leave. I mean, the Argonauts have won a lot of games in the last recent years, and their quarterbacks have left and gone other places. The BC Lions had a good run for a couple of years, and they're not the same. Edmonton, which used to be strong, Edmonton, Eskimos-Elks now. That's the worst thing I'd ever seen in football last year. They lost 13 home games in a row over a 2-year period. How could you get that bad? Saskatchewan's picked itself up off the floor. Winnipeg Blue Bombers are really good, and they've had good success renting quarterbacks. And they got a quarterback from the University of Cincinnati who's may have come from the Hamilton Ticats. So I would say Winnipeg remains good. I don't know what to make of the Montreal Alouettes. I'm talking about things that you don't pay attention to. I understand that. It's a cool league. It's a different league. I've never seen teams where the quarterbacks change and go to different teams almost on an every year basis. I am more surprised that backup quarterbacks in the NFL who have no chance of playing, guys third string, don't go to Canada because they can play. They can make a significant amount of money and be a star up there and maybe find like living in Canada kind of cool. Rather than being on the waiver wire and being in somebody's camp and getting cut. And there's so much politics at the back end of everybody's NFL roster. I'm just shocked agents don't deliver. I mean, you need quarterbacks. Why agents don't deliver quarterbacks to the Canadian League. Now, that being said, you're not making mega money. You might be making $500,000 if you were the marquee guy in the CFL. And the game is radically different. Guys have gone up there I thought would do well and didn't. Because of the 12 men and everybody's in motion. You only got 3 downs. The field looks so different because it's so much wider and it's a 110 yards line. It's just a very different game. Some guys can make the connection and do it, and other guys are just overwhelmed by what they see at the line of scrimmage. It's a very different game. I like it. I follow it. It's on TV down here in the early spring into the summer. I watch it, but us football junkies do that kind of stuff.
Well, if let's say you're a third string quarterback in the NFL, if you go to the CFL, I mean, kudos to the CFL, but you're not coming back to the NFL. I mean, they're going to it'd be unlikely because they'll say, oh, he didn't cut it in the NFL. That's why he's here. So I think there's just so much prestige with being an NFL player in America. It's hard to walk away from that.
But see, that I think that's a bit of a misconception. You go up there and you polish your game. Doug Flutie did. Toronto Argonauts. Warren Moon did way back in the day. And I think he was really the first cross-border guy that came back and became a superstar. But you go up there, you get snaps. And if you can play in that game up there, you can play down here, even though this is a much faster game. It's a more confined game. But it takes a different type of quarterback to want to be able to survive up in Canada, because it's such a radically different game. And the weather is so rugged from October into November into the Grey Cup finals. Okay, that's my CFL story. You guys over there, you owe me a Molson's Canadian. Next question, John.
Next question, let's go to Richard. And he says, is the Padres' early success sustainable and the Dodgers' current skid last?
Good questions on both ends. I will throw this out to the guy out in left field. Are the Padres doing this because they've come together as a team, or are they doing this because they went against some really bad pitching staffs? Although I wouldn't call the Dodgers a bad pitching staff. But, John, the Padres are sitting there one game over 500. Is it because they played some bad people who have no arms? Is that a yes or a no?
I'm not sure.
We're not going to take the 11 wins away that the Padres have right now.
Yeah.
But that being said, have they played really good people?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they played the Dodgers. I mean, they played the Giants, which are decent, but it's not like we played Atlanta or Philadelphia or a lot of other teams. But you just got to take it, man. These are all major league clubs with major league ball players. You just got to win what's on the schedule. I think what they're doing is sustainable. Where they're like in second place or over 500, they're not going to light the world on fire, but I think they're going to be better than last year. And they're kind of in that jockeying position. The Dodgers, you would think, they're going to turn it on again. But then, these teams, we know, the Padre fans, you spend a ton of money, it disrupts the chemistry. And then what do you have at the bottom of the order? You got like guys that are just, barely hitting above the Mendoza line if they're lucky. That's not going to sustain you. So the Dodgers might be in trouble.
Small sample size. Let's not go crazy.
There you go.
Let's not order World Series rings, and then let's not give up on the season. Let's just kind of enjoy it going forward. John, go ahead. Couple more here.
Okay, couple more. Let's go to Cal. And he says, John, America West was never built by the Suns to accommodate hockey when it opened up. As Hacksaw would say, Google America West Arena Coyotes and see how atrocious it was.
Well, the Winnipeg Jets moved to Phoenix, and I thought it was great because I lived in Phoenix. I worked there. I knew the marketplace was exploding. It's now 3.5 million. It's huge, but it's also oversaturated. You've got the NFL troubled Cardinals. You got the Diamondbacks. Last I checked, they were in the World Series last year. You add into that, you got Arizona State Sun Devil football, which is big time in that marketplace. And you got the Diamondbacks and the Suns and Sun Devils. And all of a sudden you got hockey. And then that's a big issue, and they've had bad arenas ever since they moved the franchise. They moved it on the potential of the growth of the marketplace. We're going to be in the Sun Belt in the Southwest as we're growing the sport. That was a good idea, but ownership had money problems, and everybody who had hopes, starting with when Gretzky went in there as a co-financer, had hopes would get something built. Nothing ever got built, and the different places they wound up were not really built for hockey. They were built for a wide variety of other things, and then ownership fell behind in their rental payments, and the league had to keep coming in to put out fires. The league took over the team out of bankruptcy. The league found another owner. That owner didn't work. They found Marullo, who they believe is dedicated to do it right. But like I said, we're not building a new arena in Scottsdale a week from Monday. That sucker takes 3 to 5 years.
At first I thought when I saw this comment from Callan was, well, how in the hell could it be any different? The sight lines are similar. The rink and the court for basketball are similar. It should fit. But really, then I thought more deeply about it. And I would imagine that these dual purpose stadiums probably have a lot of infrastructure underneath, like the foundation, to bring the water in so they can freeze the ice again. I mean, I imagine that's a tremendous transformation when they flip those
well, I
arenas.
think some of these arenas do have the ice making equipment there. Some places you have to install it, but the sightlines, right? I was told the basketball arenas that they've played in the sightlines have been brutal. It's just,
really?
Yeah, it's just not NHL conducive. And, they're going to the Delta Center. Part of the agreement Ryan Smith made, the owner of the Utah Jazz, who's bringing the Coyotes in, is there will be some specific renovations as it relates to seating, I guess, for the hockey rink. It's too bad. And, I mean, Houston's got unbelievable population base. Houston's got arenas. Atlanta's got arenas and they've exploded population base. And I might be in the minority. I still think Quebec City should have a franchise because it's Canada and that's their sport. But at this point, the league, and maybe that's an economic issue, the difference between the American dollar and the Canadian dollar. I'd still like to see a franchise go back to the Colisée, or they call it now, I think it's called the Olympic Arena, the brand new one that they built. But that's where we are. Let's do one more here.
One more. Okay, let's go to Emmanuel. And he says, it seems a lot of sports leagues want to expand. MLB, MLS, WNBA, and NHL. Is there enough money to support these new teams when established cities aren't even paying tax money to keep their existing teams?
Well, a lot of this is driven by, hey, we can get a TV contract, and hey, we'll expand, and we'll find another rich man that wants to pour a ton of money and put it on the table to be divvied up all the other owners, and then he'll get a TV contract. Somewhere along the way, John, I think there has to be a saturation point where suddenly this blows up. I think college athletics, college football is headed down a back alley. And I think there are going to be problems when these TV contracts come up and the networks realize they poured all this money to each of these conferences and they got a bunch of bad schools that are all getting equal payday. You're going to see in the next set of TV contracts, everything radically change. I'm going to pay the top teams in the Big Ten to come join a super football conference. And the rest of the conference, you'll just have to go out on your own and divvy up your own TV contract for basketball or college baseball or the Olympic sports. I think 5 years from now, I think we're going to have a radical change when these TV contracts come up for renewal, because the networks will say, I am not paying Rutgers $50 million a year to finish in last place. Or you could go name any team in any conference that's got a bottom dweller. And so I think this whole thing's going to change.
I agree with you. I think, college sports is definitely going through a huge transformation. But is there any league in any sport that you think has too many teams? I don't think so.
No, but how many of them are good? How many of them are competitive because the owners are willing to spend the money to put a good product on the field? I think that becomes an issue. Also, as an issue is the power of the Players Association. Every time a collective bargaining agreement comes up, you'll know two things. The price tag on marquee players is going to go up, and then there'll be trickle-down effect. Everybody else's dollar value goes up. Now, as long as the TV contracts are coming in, the gross revenue in the pot grows, which means there's more money for the players. But if we have an issue where the TV money starts to go down, now those unions and those owners are going to have a real problem, because the amount of money that was in the pot to pay the megastars and all the other guys is going to be a lot less than it was before if the TV contracts change. There has to be, as I said, saturation point where there's too much.
Well, I think the brilliance of what they do with soccer in England is the relegation system. And I like that. I mean, imagine if we brought that to America, that could fit in a lot of different sports.
You think if the Padres had a bad season, it'd be okay to be in the Pacific Coast League? I don't think so.
Well, you don't want to be there, but that would be good motivation to keep those teams, relevant.
Yeah. It'll be interesting going forward. I will say this, obviously the NFL prints money in the hallways.
Yes.
The NFL is a raging business success. Baseball's attendance numbers have been phenomenal. Their TV numbers have grown. The NBA and the NHL just came through, both of them record-setting seasons for attendance. So the top four sports that we know of are doing really, really well. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed